About 2 years ago, one time I was shopping for an apartment on Craigslist, and I saw an apartment that I loved, but it didn't say whether or not the apartment building was non-smoking. I'm very sensitive to cigarette smoke, even if it's an adjacent apartment. I have trouble with it, and it didn't say, and so I emailed the poster to find out, and sure enough, it's non-smoking as I would expect it to be. I mean, I live in a pretty much one of the most anti-smoking areas in the country, if not in the world. And so I emailed the seller back, and or the landlord back, and went like, well, is there a reason you didn't list that? I think most people here in the Seattle area would appreciate a non-smoking unit. And he said, oh yeah, I forgot. And I kept shopping for the apartment on Craigslist, and a couple weeks later I stumbled upon his site again. You know, one of the benefits of being a little flexible with where I live, you know, sometimes I live out of my car, is that I have a little bit more leverage power. I'm not forced into taking an apartment just because I need a roof over my head. It's a little bit more bargaining power, and I can hold out for a better deal or a better situation, you know. And so I ended up seeing his site again, and he still hadn't posted non-smoking, and it was kind of odd. But then I realized something. I think it was intentional. I think what the landlord was trying to do was to force you to ask the question, because by asking, you tend to feel like you've sunk some cost into it. And I think he kind of exploited that strategy to some extent. And it's a very clever negotiation strategy, if you will. The other reason he might have done this, I don't think this is a reason, but it could be a reason, is that he really didn't he would prefer it to be non-smoking, but he would allow it if you know, he had an otherwise very good tenant, right? If he had somebody who was good with paying their bills on time, who was otherwise very clean, he might just let it slide. So it was kind of a backdoor way of allowing for that, which part of the reason I didn't take that apartment was I was a little worried that that was the motivation behind it, to kind of only be non-smoking verbally, you know, but behind the scenes, you know, or unwritten policy was that if you pay your bills on time, you know, it's not a big deal. But I think more likely it was to force a little bit of a sunk cost. I see this a lot. One of the strategies I use when I negotiate selling coins, I always make the potential buyer drive to my place before giving out all of the details. It forced a little bit of a sunk cost into the deal. Sometimes with ride sharing, I talked about this a couple days ago, I'll always try to delay giving all of the details until I can get some commitment, even if it's just, hey, where are you going, you know. But before I tell them how much they need to contribute, I make sure to have a few back and forth emails with them. It really helps. Not that I need the money or anything, but it's a good practice for some of these negotiation techniques. So one thing I learned from it is that a great negotiation technique is to get your opponent to involve some sunk costs, because they'll be a little bit more motivated to complete the deal.